Hey guys, this is Alex.
And this is Drew.
And today on the Two Man Comic Book Club podcast, we're taking a look at Vision #1 from 2015 by Tom King, Gabriel Hernandez Walta, and Jordie Bellaire. Let's go.
So Alex, why are we reading this one?
There's a plethora of reasons that we're reading this one. If you can't tell, I'm really excited about this book. So this came out 5 years ago.
He was just rubbing his hand. Like, if you're listening, that sound, that was him rubbing his hands together like a supervillain.
Yeah. Very menacing, but like... Mm-hmm.
But with a smile in his face and a glint in his eye. So you know it
could still be menacing.
Yeah.
This is a really cool book. I'll just say that. Tori, you can correct me on this. I think this book won some awards, like some comic book. So Tom King wrote it, just Tom King, The Vision #1 from 2015. If not, it might have been like nominated. It's really good. The reason that I was inspired to pick this, and we actually pushed this one forward in the queue as far. We had some other plans for a couple stories ahead of this, but we want to kind of get out in front of WandaVision releasing on Disney Plus, and I know for a fact that this comic book in particular is going to be not a one-for-one, but it is definitely going to be looked at. If you haven't seen the trailers, or like not even trailers, but the kind of teaser promotional material that's been out, there very much is like this sitcom-y vibe is going to be all over WandaVision, and it absolutely takes some visual cues, and I think some story cues as well. Only time will tell on that one from this specific comic book. So there have been a lot of Vision comic books over the years, some that go way further back than this. So this is a pretty recent one that I think our readers will like, they'll jump into, and I'm very curious to see just how much they pull from this source material, because even Tom King, I follow him on Twitter, and he's like tweeted some little snaps, and he was like, it's so cool to write something and then see that they're like pulling from this as source material. So I think he might even know more than we do. Maybe not. Maybe now Disney talks to the comic book writers all the time, but it's not going to be a one-for-one, but I think we're going to be surprised at some of the source material they pull out of this one, even if it's all visual stuff. It's super cool. Did you see anything about that?
It won an Eisner Award, which is a comic world's highest honor, according to the New Yorker.
Right. So that's a big deal. It won an Eisner, which is, an Oscar for a comic book. And it's let's see, 2015, that would probably have been, I think that's the year Age of Ultron came out, which is the debut of Vision, which makes sense. We won't pretend that they don't look at their movie lineup and go, well, let's write some Vision comic books. We're going to bring them under the debut. There's always that thing. But when the stars align and the book is not just filling the void of, we got to have something paper for this character to send out, and it actually ends up being like a legit publication, that's always awesome. So I'm super excited about this one. But before we get into that, Drew, what you been reading, yo?
I think in case you didn't know, we record these sometimes a couple at a time.
Yeah.
And I went on and 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 on in the last episode about what I've been reading and watching. And I don't know if I think I covered it all.
So same answer as last time.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's something. I feel like there's...
Well, you've been reading this.
I've been reading Vision. I read Dr. Doom. I added a few random titles to my queue on Marvel Unlimited, but I've been spending more time in DC. Oh! I did finally read like the second issue of Saga.
Oh.
So I'm still way, way, way behind. But yeah, it's getting interesting.
Yeah, I have been going, farther down this Vision tunnel just to kind of, speculate where we can end. It is a longer series. I think there's 12 issues total, maybe more. But man, it'll be hard to stop on this one. We might have to. Again, we're always going to tell our listeners to get Marvel Unlimited and check out these series with us, because it kind of ties the whole book club up in a nice bow for what we're doing. But this one's so good. This is, the more I think about it, like one of my favorite series that I've ever read. Like, it's that good.
It was unexpected.
issue 1, like, whoa, you know, it just kind of happens to you.
Even just like the setup and the way that it's being delivered, I was just like, all right, good pick again. So
right before anything happens, and you'll know what we're talking about when this thing's all over. It's still just like, all right, we're set up. This is cool. I wanted to brag. I actually have right here the physical floppy of Vision number 1. It's another one that's like near and dear. I actually got to read this as it came out. This was on my pull list when I was still going to a comic book shop. And I think I have, if I don't have every issue of this run, I definitely have most of it. And I'm very curious to see if it kind of goes up in value as Vision becomes a more popular character. Because I think
I've stopped playing the collect to hope. I mean, I know that you're not like, I'm going to sell it.
Well, when I picked it up 5 years ago, I had no idea that WandaVision was going to be a thing.
I used to collect basketball cards, and I watched the Beckett listing and stuff like that. And I don't know. I don't expect it to be that nest egg that I had hoped.
Yeah. You really got to hop on. Speaking of nest eggs, I was the quintessential Pokemon nerd and sometimes still am, but I had all the cards. And I mean, the good cards, and I don't know what happened to them all.
Yeah. It's tough.
I'm telling you, like, the ones you see selling for tens of thousands of dollars, I had several of all of them.
Wow.
Like, sell them and get all this new cameras easy.
Yeah.
And they were all, like, in those hard shell case things and protected. I had so many.
Yeah.
I do believe that I had at least 10 grand worth at the value now, and I have no idea what happened to them.
That's crazy.
They're probably...
I got a $40 Magic card once.
Nice.
And it was one of those Zendikar expedition lands. If you're a nerd and you were playing back then, you might know. And I was like, man, this is great. It was like one of those foil specialty lands that came out, Battle for Zendikar. Maybe it was the one after that. And I was like, yeah, this doesn't really fit my gameplay style. So I sold it. And I mean, I only got $20 for it. And I kind of just the spur of the moment, I was like, all right. And I've regretted it ever since.
Yeah.
Because I was like, that was a beautiful card. And even if I would have never played it, like, it would have been fun to be like, yeah, I've got this card. And I pulled it out of a booster pack. Like, I found it in the wild. And I've got this, you know, this beautiful card. And instead I sold it and got $20 and probably ended up buying, you know, lunch with
Tori...
It's depressing.
Well, you look up. I'm just going to see. There's one card I know that I had like 14 of them. Look up the Pokemon, the first movie promo Mew card. And it's not the one that looks like all ancient hieroglyphic stone tablet. It's just like, it's like a purplish pink. It just has Mew. It's... like if you can find like a value for it at all around
Pokemon, the first movie Mewtwo 3 promo card is on sale on eBay starting at $500.
I had 14 of them. I'm not kidding. And that's just 14 cards. I had we can't keep talking about this. It's gonna make my stomach hurt. I had them. Now, I know like little bits about like card grading, you know, not every single one. That's probably like a PSA graded 10 perfect mid condition card. Maybe not all of mine were, but let's just say I got half of the value, which they were not in bad shape at all. I took care of my stuff. So some of it is luck of the draw, like the centering of the card, or if like there were some just the most minute nicks on the, you know, natural wear and tear from them just being made happens. I had 14 of those. I'm not exaggerating. My mom, they were giving them away as like a promo at Toys R Us. And somehow my mom, she was like, hey, I got you these. She came home and it was a stack. And as like a little kid, I'm just like, you know, like freaking out holding these cards. And
do you think they're somewhere at one of your old houses?
I've looked in attics. Really? I've looked everywhere.
That's too bad.
I have no idea. Maybe one day when they're really worth some coin, I'll stumble across them. But I cannot. I got really excited about a year ago when I was looking for all, because I had a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh cards that probably weren't as valuable, but definitely were valuable. I had like the first edition because when those came out, all the trading card games, I played them. You know, I collected the cards, but I thought I found them, and I stumbled across some basketball cards that I had. There was not them. And I was
that's
for a second really excited. I was like,
and it's funny to think that those basketball cards, which the only reason to get them is to collect them. I mean, like, and you think, man, these are going to be worth something.
and some of them are.
Yeah, but like to think that
with Jersey and
like the thing that you found that if you could go back 20 years and think, yeah, this is going to be a gold mine in the future, and these little trading card games, you know, I wonder if like whenever those first came out, did people know that those were going to be so valuable or not? It's just funny kind of thing.
Right, it is. Tori, I have one more I want you to look up. This isn't exactly a card, but do you remember when McDonald's gave away the gold-plated Pokemon things in the Pokeball? I had 2 sets of that whole thing, and I think those are probably worth something now too.
I remember
all the stuff that was like early Pokemon. I was on the front of the line, and I had like all of it. I had all those Charizard cards that were like the first edition. I mean, again, they probably weren't. Maybe some of them were. I mean, I did not treat my stuff like crap. I got it, put it in cases, put it in sleeves. What are you seeing?
Was it McDonald's or was it Burger King?
I think it was Burger King.
Because the 1999 became the Burger King,
like the gold-plated
cards. Yeah, they're like 100 to 150.
Wow.
I had 2 of each.
That's crazy.
But they were just like giving them away for a few bucks then, you know. Yeah. But it's exploded. Anyway, I'm gonna throw up if I don't stop talking about how much money that is. I literally have a treasure chest of like a small fortune somewhere that would fix a lot of my financial problems right now. Yeah. Don't know where they're at.
Yep.
Maybe my mom sold it all and just used the money for herself. Maybe my mom's Dr. Doom.
I hope she made some money off of it.
She better have.
Not just be like, yeah, it's a yard sale.
Right.
Take all these cards for $5.
He outgrew them. He doesn't play Pokemon. Yeah. Just take that whole box. We don't need any money for it. Yeah. Anyway, I digress. Comic book collecting's fun.
Yeah.
Maybe one day I'll have
I do still
bucks
have
from
like
these Vision
just
books.
about all of my comic books. And my dad was like, he was a collector, so like whenever we started collecting, he got me the boards and the backs and stuff like that. So most of my books, I mean, some of them are falling apart, but like maybe that would account to like 1% of my comics collection. Everything else was either maintained in, you know, a pretty decent box or in a board in a bag in a box.
Right.
Board in a bag in a box.
Man, I think my stomach truly does hurt. Yeah. That's thinking about
it's the same way I felt after I quit teaching, and I had like 100 sick days, and those just disappeared. I guess that's like 3 months of salary. That's just, I don't know. Maybe I could get it back somehow. I've never looked into it, but like,
they should let you cash that out for at least some value.
I feel like there was a way that I could have done something about it, but at the time I was like, what are the chances that I'm going to not come back to teaching? And I just haven't done it yet. So it's possible that one of these days I might go back and be like, hey.
And start off with a 3-month vacation.
Yeah. So I don't know. But yeah, I feel sick. I felt sick to my stomach once I started thinking about that. I'm like, God, that's 10, 12 grand. Oh.
Yeah. Gone. And here we are doing some MacGyver stuff to record this podcast.
Yeah.
If you guys only saw what we did. Anyway, it's not that bad. Anyway, let's jump into this comic book because it's a good one. There's a lot to cover.
Yeah.
We'll do the credits like we always do. So this is the Vision #1 from 2015. The writer was Tom King. The artist was Gabriel Hernandez Walta. The color artist was Jordie Bellaire. The letterer and production was VC's Clayton Cowles. The cover artist was Mike Del Mundo. And then some variant covers, which I have a little bullet point for this one. So some of the variant covers for issue 1 were Ryan Sook, Marcos Martin, and Vanesa Del Rey. Now, Vanesa Del Rey took part in what was a bigger variant cover production, kind of like if you listen to last episode, I talked about like the Native American heritage variants that they're doing, not just for Iron Man, but for several of the comics. They did hip-hop variants, which I also have for this issue. I bought a Vision #1 hip-hop variant. So what they did...
Was that the one that was in the front of your display? Okay, I saw it today.
So they took some of the most iconic hip-hop albums of all time, which if you didn't know, I'm a big hip-hop head, and they did a variation on that cover with the character. So Wiz Khalifa had an album called Rolling Papers, and they did Vision #1 with the Rolling Papers album, and it is one of my favorite variant covers that I have. And I have these really cool like custom wooden, they're not custom, you can buy them, but they're like these wooden comic long boxes. Like they're basically a nicer version of the cardboard thing that I probably paid too much money for, but I like how they look on display. And I have several of the variants. I'm actually thinking about tracking down all the hip hop variants that came out. They also have a really cool coffee book, like a coffee table book that has like, I think just collections of just those variant covers in there. I put it on my Christmas list. So
nice.
I don't remember who has me, but buy me that. Anyway, yeah, Vanessa Del Rey did the hip hop variant for that cover. And then the assistant editor was Chris Robinson. Wil Moss was the editor. And then I think on issue 1, I'll list all these at the bottom that I think are more often listed at the bottom of every Marvel comic book. But we have executive editor Tom Brevoort, editor-in-chief Axel Alonso, chief creative officer, not ossifer, is Joe Quesada. Dan Buckley's the publisher, and Alan Fine is the executive producer. Whew. And that's Vision #1.
That's it. All right.
That was it. That's about it.
Come back next week.
So I'm going to read this little splash page that kind of like gives us just a run-in of where we're at. So I think it's also important to point out this took place in 2015, or this is when this book came out. A significant Marvel event had just wrapped up, and Drew and I reference it all the time. It's Secret Wars. So this was part of the all-new, all-different Marvel run.
I've always wondered what ended up happening after that.
Yeah, so Drew and I might have some aha moments as we're reading this, but we'll try to fill you in as it goes on. If you are really brave and you have Marvel Unlimited, I highly suggest making a run.
That was my first deep dive, and it taught me so much.
You learn a lot.
I found the reading order, and I will say 95% of the books were on Marvel Unlimited at that time. This was a couple years ago.
Yeah,
so it's possible that more of them are there now. But like the ones that weren't there were like little side trails,
very obscure,
that didn't really connect. It was more like, all right, this happened, which caused this to happen, and it doesn't really come back. But man, that Secret Wars is worth digging into.
Yeah, and that was mostly a Jonathan Hickman run, right?
I remember that's what led me into
the Avengers and New
Yeah.
Avengers, and then everything that tied in between that. So this all, I mean, basically reading that and then reading into this gives you a very, I would argue, stable layout of the land.
Yeah.
Of where the Marvel Universe is at. So this kind of happens after they rebooted some characters. They brought some characters in. This is a minor spoiler, but not really. It doesn't really tell you how or when, but it's a result that everybody knows has happened. It solidified Miles Morales as a part of the 616 universe.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of big stuff, but this was Vision that came out of this, and little did we know that this, unless I'm going to be completely wrong, which everybody's speculating that this is the case, so I don't think so. This is what's going to be a very consistent source of information for the upcoming WandaVision series on Disney+. So we're really excited to cover that. So all that to say, I'm going to read the splash page to kind of give us a little breakdown of what's going on. The Vision is a synthezoid, an android composed of a synthetic human blood and organs. He was created by Ultron to destroy the Avengers, but instead he turned on his quote-unquote father, and he's been a member of the superhero team ever since. Recently, Vision purged the emotions associated with his memories from his hard drive in order to keep his processing system running smoothly, but the consequences of this action have yet to be fully realized. So Drew and I used to do this thing on this podcast called the 60-second catch-up.
Oh, yeah.
Which
this would be a good time for that.
Would be probably a good time. I'm going to do a version of that right now.
Yeah.
We'll see how long that lasts. But just know that Vision is a long and I don't want to say inconsistent, but layered with maybe small conflicting things. Swipe to the left with all your fingers. With all of them. Or close that one first with the 2 finger swipe, and then swipe that way with all of them. There you go. Okay. Basically, Vision was created by Ultron, which the MCU. So some of the stuff you saw in the MCU in Age of Ultron is not completely inaccurate. He was created by Ultron, but his body was created first, and it was a clone of the original Human Torch from like OG. I think they were still, I think they'd become Marvel at that point, but like soon after Timely Comics became Marvel, there was like the Human Torch, which is not to be confused with the Fantastic Four's Human Torch.
Because he was like a robot. Of
he was an android.
Okay.
So I forget who does it, but somebody clones that body and it's kind of lifeless, and then Ultron gets a hold of it to make this ultimate weapon to take out the Avengers. And it, at some point, the Vision, who gets his name because Janet Van Dyne, aka the Wasp, sees him and describes it as a vision that she had almost, so he takes on that name as the Vision. He eventually takes on they call it like the brain pattern, but essentially like the entire, if you can imagine if you could copy and paste a brain into somebody, how he kind of gains beyond a robotic android life of Wonder Man, which will be important a little bit when we get into this comic, as you'll see shortly. He has a long-standing history of the Avengers. He doesn't end up destroying the Avengers. He ends up joining them and taking out Ultron. Very quickly after, meets Wanda Maximoff. They both fall in love. They have 2 children. I don't know how that happened between android and a witch. Sounds like they can probably marvel it and make it work. Wiccan and Speed. Some of you might have heard of Wiccan. We've seen that character in the comics several times before. He spends most of his time with the Avengers, I think. I think that's a pretty good wrap-up just to give you like a backstory. He's got... it's not comic book accurate that he has the Mind Stone in his forehead. That's not a thing. That's an MCU thing.
I was wondering.
At least to my knowledge, unless they've retconned that, but I don't think that's the case. He, in this comic book, you'll quickly find out, this is not a spoiler, he has a family. You'll find out how that comes to be. He does not always stay with Wanda. In fact, one of the times where he died, where this is comic book accurate, Wanda kind of loses it, and this is where I think some of the story is going to come into place. It's like people are debating whether the stuff we've seen is real or if it's all in her head, and she's keeping him alive there somehow. Anyway, there's a lot. He can phase in and out of stuff. He can adjust the density of his body for anywhere from phasing through stuff to weighing 3 tons. He's super strong. He has flight. I don't know. I don't think he's like goes as far as like reality manipulation, but he's definitely a force to be reckoned with. And that was only 60 seconds long. That whole thing.
I believe you.
All right. So we jump in and we see this first off, love the art style through this whole thing. Yeah. There's something about it. It's definitely like raw. Like it looks like sketch.
Is there? This wasn't the same artist that did Miss Marvel in the beginning, was it?
I don't think Gabriel Hernandez Walta did that.
That doesn't sound right. It just looks, the rawness.
Yeah, there's rawness. There's sketch. The pencils, I think, are like a very important aspect here. Like there's flaw in it. It's not perfectly, like somebody didn't get a ruler out and just start, tracing lines. Like there's a raw edginess to it, which is really cool, I think, when you think about how that contrasts with an android, computer robotic, where you would think like minimalist and clean. And I think like from page 1, when you think of that context, it's almost a foreshadow, in my opinion, of things to come, or the rawness of something that maybe in Vision's mind would have gone a little more calculated and straight than he would have originally thought. But we see this neighborhood. It looks like a very just traditional suburb neighborhood. And as we're going down to the neighborhood, one of them has a mailbox and it's like floating and it's green and it's got like a little hover laser out of the bottom, and it's the first sign of something that's not your everyday thing. And we see that there is some neighbors with some cookies walking up to a new house, where we kind of get that we're implying the scene of, fresh neighbors are going to bring them something to welcome into the neighborhood. And they're talking about the Vision, and basically I'm just going to read some of this. It'll give you a feel of how it's going. So the guy's like, can't believe I'm doing this. Can't believe you're making me do this. They're robots, Nora. They don't want cookies. And over the top of this, there's like this monologue going on. I don't think it's Vision necessarily.
Yeah,
as much
I really
as,
feel like it's just a narrator who's watching the whole thing unfold. Maybe it's the Watcher.
Very Doom Patrol. It could be. It's probably safe to assume it's Iwatu.
Mm-hmm.
And then his wife argues, they're not robots. I went online. There's something else, like a synth of something. And he says, synth of something? Great. Problem solved, with as much sarcasm. He said, or his wife retorts, it said they moved here because the Vision is the Avengers' man in the White House now. And also, rumors maybe his super friends didn't fully approve of his whole new family thing. So this is the first wink we get of what family thing. It's a spoiler if you look at the cover because the family's on there, but up to this point, Vision didn't have a android synthezoid family. He had his family with Wanda Maximoff, but that didn't pan out. And the husband's like, of course I didn't approve. Robots making robots, trying to not be robots. It's just unnatural. She says, listen, they're not robots. They're those things I was saying. Basically, they're just arguing, and he says a bunch of insulting things that definitely parallel somebody who's not being tolerant of people that are different of him. So he's being that guy. And then Vision opens the door and says, excuse me, and then opens wider, and we get this full spread of the family that Vision has created.
Yeah.
And he says, may we help you?
Jingle bells, Batman smells, Robin laid an egg, Batmobile lost a wheel, and Joker got away.
Hey guys, it's Alex, and on behalf of the Two Man Comic Book Club podcast, we wanted to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday. This year, we're giving back to you for all of our listeners that have stayed with us all year. So we found some cool comic books that we want to give you guys. All you have to do to enter is go and subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave a comment, 2 Man Christmas, on one of our most recent videos. If you'd like an additional entry, just go to Apple Podcasts and leave a 5-star rating and a review, and we'll enter you again. We hope you have a great holiday with your family and friends, and we'll see you next time.
Batmobile lost a wheel, and Joker got away. That's got to be it. And then we get into the story proper. And I want to talk a little bit about the narration, the bubbles.
Please do. It's important.
Because they become a character in their own and just the foreshadowing and everything. I kind of talked to Torrance about this. I was getting the vibe. This felt just the way that they were writing it, the frankness of some of this. It felt like the narrator's voice in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah, I can see that.
Just the way that they're saying, an important and popular fact, blah, blah, blah. And just like laying things out.
It is very matter of fact.
Yeah. And it's very, like, I could almost see it being Vision just for it's very, what's the word? It's just scientific.
Straightforward, robotic. I mean,
yeah.
He's a synthezoid, and they definitely play on that overlying narrative.
But at the same time, I feel like it's more likely not him, but I don't know. I don't know if we ever find out.
And it definitely is telling things through like the beginning of a short story.
Yes.
Our heroes find themselves here,
Yeah. So anyway, they're talking. They're like, "Thank you so much. Why don't you please come inside?" And Vision introduces, "This is my wife Virginia, my daughter Viv, and my son Vin. They're twins." And all three of them say, "Pleasure to meet you. Pleasure to meet you. Pleasure to meet you." I'm sure they were exactly the same cadence of speech and everything.
And for those that are not watching and are just listening, they're the same makeup as Vision, like the maroonish, pinkish skin and the green. Well, he doesn't have hair, but they have green hair that kind of parallels some of the green that you see. They look in his vein, and they all have the little emblem in their forehead, though I'm not sure what it is actually. Maybe, Tor, you can look that up, whatever the diamond in Vision's forehead, what that is in the comics.
So, and then they just begin giving a tour. And I'm just going to mention these things because they're not the sort of things you see in a normal house.
No, but they're really cool.
A stringless Steinway imported from Wakanda. And as a piano player myself, I just have to wonder, I mean, is this just a synth? What is it? Is it some sort of special tech? Like it's a piano.
Well, it's got to be made
that
out of
has no
vibranium.
strings. Yeah. So it makes me wonder. And Steinway, I feel like they're all made in the same place. But anyway, I don't want to dig into that too much.
I mean, to dig 1 inch further, it makes even less sense if it's made out of vibranium because it doesn't vibrate.
Yeah. So
right. So it's like, what technology? I don't know. It probably works and sounds awesome.
I mean, that's totally a Black Panther, right? The lid.
Yeah.
It just looks like a Black Panther. Then they go on to the next thing. One of the famed flying water vases of Zen-La, a gift from the surfer. I'm assuming the Silver Surfer.
Silver Surfer is from Zen-La.
Okay, then that's exactly what it is.
Norin Rand.
This becomes an important element.
Yes. All
right, and then a lighter used to read a map on the night before D-Day, a gift from the captain.
Very cool. Deep dive.
And then a clipped everbloom plucked from the side of Mount Wundagore, a gift from the witch.
Yeah, and that's referring to his ex-lover, Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch.
And this is a good example of the narrator's voice. It says, as Vision explained the local myth of the everbloom, that its petals could unlock the doors of time, his wife grew unusually quiet, which makes sense for that. But neither Nora nor George noticed this. Right. I mean, I love the narrator. I would read this in prose.
Well, let's pause for 2 seconds. We're 1.2 pages into like the actual narration of this, and you totally can see a copy and paste version of this. Somehow, this can be twisted into a sitcom like show almost. But we're already seeing like just this kind of interesting reality that his wife Virginia, is aware that this plant was from his ex-lover, and I don't know. It's just very interesting. Read it; it will click even more.
And then it goes on. This is where it really ticked up a notch to me. Nora and George are talking as they walk away. His hand felt like a sandwich bag when I shook it, like kind of sticky. I thought it would hurt or something. And she's like, shh, don't you think they can hear us? She's like, yeah, but can't they always hear us? And meanwhile, the narrator comes in. This was the moment. Later, near the end of our story, one of the visions, meaning one of the family, will set George and Nora's house on fire.
Yeah. And in the next line,
they will die in the flames.
Yes.
And then it's like, wow, okay. And we weren't even done. George's last thought will be of Nora, how he found his true love and regrets little of what came after. Nora's last thought will be about the water vase of Zen-La. She will wonder why it is empty.
Okay, so I'm telling you right now, they could have ended the bloody comic book right there, issue 1, and we would have enough to speculate for months.
All right, I'll buy number 2.
Right. And we're like 4 pages in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages in of a 23-page comic book. And it is just explosion of drama and just juicy, glorious comic book telling.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Anyway.
And then somehow they spend another page arguing about the semantics of they seemed kind versus they seemed nice in a very I'm just going to say robotic, a very robotic computer-based way. So it's funny, like so much can happen in 2 or 3 panels, and then they will just go into infinite detail to really kind of make you think, oh man, these are not humans.
Yeah, and that's really kind of an overarching theme that you'll find throughout these books is we're kind of already starting to realize maybe why Vision made a family is he's trying to, and if you have any familiarity with Vision before, a common theme with that character is him struggling with his own humanity or lack thereof. Like, what does it feel like to be an android and not really have, you can argue like a soul or something, but feel love with Wanda? And, is he supposed to feel sadness? I know for any Vision fans or longtime Marvel fans will know one of like the most iconic art panels and moments in Vision's history is that like they found out that even an android could cry. Something significant happens. So constantly struggling with his own humanity and trying to, he's so smart. He's a genius level character that he's always trying to figure out how does he become more like his humanoid, peers. But anyway.
Yeah. And so we kind of move on, and it kind of just walks you through time passed as it does. Vision, the neighbors met their family, Vision met the other neighbors, other families, and kids are showing off for their neighbor.
Using their powers.
Yeah. And it was like, this was interesting. Many of the neighbors took pictures with Vision to post on their various pages. Many of them took pictures of Visions to post on their various pages. And you just kind of think of the different approach to that. Pictures with them, like supporting, like, yeah, these guys are cool. Welcome to the family. Other people like taking spy shots, like, look at what I have to deal with.
Which is another thing to point out. Tori, can you look up the name of this actress? Probably IMDb, the WandaVision page. She's I want to say her name's Catherine something. She's in Parks and Rec. She's the Catherine Hahn. That's who it is. She's confirmed in this as a nosy neighbor for WandaVision. So she's going to be, which makes me think, again, they're playing into this, like, they're going to have a, this mystical family over here doing all this stuff, and neighbors peeking over the bushes trying to really figure out what's going on. So again, it's copy and paste from this comic book of what it's going to be like. And just to throw underneath what Drew just said, like, while that narration's going on, you're seeing this family try to blend in a little bit, but the kids obviously not understanding that they're completely unlike any other children, lifting the Steinway piano and shooting lasers at each other's foreheads, almost like a synthezoid arm wrestle, if you will.
Speaking of, the thing in their forehead is a solar gem or a solar jewel, just where they get their powers from the sun.
Okay.
Oh yeah, right. Because in this they're like solar powered almost. Yeah, which is again different than the MCU, which is not wrong. It's the MCU is just another version. Do you want to take this?
You can.
Okay. So we carry on more, and we see the Vision actually doing his job, which was kind of referenced earlier. He's kind of the connecting talking point for the White House. He's going in and talking to the president. He reports back to the Avengers, and he's just the middleman to make sure that there's no conflicting message. And I think, that's looking in the world like a job that he would do extremely well, just being very matter of fact with somebody that much in charge. He's always also portrayed, even in the MCU, as a very objective, like, just source of knowledge. And here's the statistics. Here's how this will play out. And this is what I think. I think a good way to think of how he would be with the president is, if you remember in Civil War, him trying to justify why everybody was scared of them after all of the all the stuff that had happened where they'd caused so much destruction. Going through, I'm going to read some of this like Drew was doing, just the overall narration. He says, though he did not tell the president, he hoped the White House would offer him an official position where he might draw a salary. The Avengers were no longer offering wages, and he was uncertain of how long the savings could last. Virginia had yet to decide what she would do for a career. When not with her family, she spent most of her time in the living room couch exploring the corners of her preloaded memory. She was fascinated by how often she found something that made her cry, which, again, we're doing this weird dance with, like, thinking about, they just talked about it being a preloaded memory, but yet this android is able to feel an emotion that wasn't originally hers and was Vision's, and it made her cry. And then we see the kids, they're kind of taking in all this information and downloading stuff, a la the Matrix almost. And there's kind of a funny moment where they're talking about they were trying to argue about Shakespeare's Shylock, whether he was truly a villain or not. And in an errant swing, Viv put her fist through a staircase.
Yeah.
Do you want to cover this next page? I feel like this would be good for you.
Yep. And the narration jumps in. Eventually, the first day of school arrived. Vin and Viv were provided the specific instructions on what to wear. They followed those instructions perfectly. They were, after all, dutiful children. And then the
she's mom.
They call her mother. She's just, be mindful of your clothes. These clothes that are able to phase don't come cheap,
Yeah, they're costly.
And
do not stain them.
And then just the Vision's like, it is high school. They will remain solid. Just like the matter of fact, just, I'd like to be a fly on the wall just to see this, like, literally how it pans out. Are they all monotone? I don't know.
Yeah, it almost has like a a Stepford house, a very cookie cutter. This is the way things should be, but we're viewing it obviously through the lens of them again being androids, or I guess not android. Is a synthezoid and an android a different thing?
The synthezoid has
actual human matter, right?
Well, or at least synthesized versions of human organs.
Right. So they have organs, so they're not just androids. So they're synthezoids. But again, it just definitely puts an interesting shade over everything.
And then the kids fly off. Like, they don't walk, they fly off. Yeah. And there's a conversation where I think Veronica. I'm going to get it right one of these days. Yeah. Virginia's talking about, trying to recall something that Vision had said. And he's like, why don't you just play it back from your memory instead of us discussing this? And I think at some point he's like, I have decided that the energy that it would expend, it would take for me to argue this with you would be more simple for me just to restate it.
Right.
And
which is, again, it's this weird look at like this very nuanced thing that a lot of people can relate to. Like a spouse arguing about something they forgot about, or just wanting to talk. Like, I want you to tell me, I don't want to have to remember, or, just, you'll get it. I mean,
And then Sam Wilson, Captain America, jumps in and is like, hey, need to pass something along. So he has to go back on Vision duty.
For people that aren't watching, it pops out of Vision's hand like this hologram of Sam Wilson, Captain America.
Yep. And then it kind of takes us back to the school, Hamilton High, Alexander Hamilton High. And kids are just sitting there floating, looking down. And once the human kids notice that they're there, they're all just like looking up, staring at him. And the narration says, "We are the envy of the world," they say. "No one is better." But
yeah, this was cool because up above all the text, they spend 2/3 of the page bragging about how amazing the school is and how it's just like the elite students of the state are there, and they're second to none, and they're all looking up.
Yeah,
I mean, there's the art really helps the scene here. Yeah. Like they're looking up at Viv and Vin floating in the air, and their jaws are on the ground. Like these are kids that are used to being
the best of the
second
best.
to nobody.
Yeah. And then we get to see Vin in his class, and this girl is back there. She turns her laptop around and she's typed out, "Are you normal?"
Yeah.
To this guy and to Vin, and nothing really much is said about it. But then it shows the end of the day, and the twins are flying away, and he's just like, "Am I normal?"
Yeah.
Just like, so apparently he has been thinking about this.
Right, which is again another human thing, that even the synthezoid is having to deal with.
And then it talks for a little bit about what is happening. Oh, it shows them they're sleeping in separate beds, Vision and Virginia, saying that they don't actually need to sleep, but to like recoup energy, but they do shut down so that their systems can like run through everything, process everything, and make sure that it's okay.
And it says they eliminate that which is unessential. So they go through and just basically do some file management, I guess.
Empty the trash,
right?
I guess.
Yeah.
And then Vision, the next day, Vision goes off to school again, and they're having a typical time where Virginia's looking over Vin and Viv's homework, and used to have teenage drama. Even like she makes a comment about something on Viv's paper, and Viv gets angry. She got up from the table and moved towards the kitchen, and that is when the blade went through her. And you have this might be the first since the first page, like
full art.
Yeah, full art. And it's just Viv is like up against this, just walking out, and this giant blade, like the size of a blade that you would see on a Final Fantasy video game or something.
Yeah,
is just like cutting through a wall and through her stomach.
Yeah. Now, if you're confused about how we got there, this was out of nowhere. Like Viv is arguing with her mom about how she did one of her homework assignments, storms off, and a giant blade slams through the wall and through Viv's stomach.
Yeah. And just so you know, in case you're wondering what the inside of a synthezoid looks like, there's wires and bearings and little washers and stuff like that. But it looks like oil. And she coughs some up even, and it's just Very troubling. I was not expecting that when I turned the page.
And she obviously hits the ground and she starts saying mother, like mother, and a question. And then she starts like glitching. So just imagine as the rest of the scene unfolds, Viv is off to the side, paralyzed, synthezoid guts everywhere, just glitching out, saying mother, 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 like over and over. And then it says, the narration says, behold, the Grim Reaper. This is significant, and I feel like a lot of people wouldn't know this because fact check me on this, Tori. The Grim Reaper is the brother of Wonder Man. If you recall earlier, Wonder Man is the person who Vision got his brain and basically like his personality from, and it was not taken with permission.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So the Grim Reaper, I forget his name, has always thought that the Vision was like this bastardized version of his brother and was like this very insulting thing. So
this has been going for a while.
An iconic Vision villain is the Grim Reaper.
Okay.
So I did not know that the first time I read this page. I had to like go and do some research. Now, Tori's going to tell me if that was at all correct and accurate, but I think that's more or less what was actually happening right here.
I'm still in the process of looking it up. I don't see that.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, wait. Here we go.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah. So the Grim Reaper, what's his name? They like all of the characters do. They have an actual name, but so Wonder Man's brother is the Grim Reaper. Not like, if you're remembering back to our Doctor Doom book, not like the version of Death or an actual Grim Reaper, but like his supervillain name is Grim Reaper, and he has like if you imagine if Captain Hook, instead of having a hook, had a scythe on his hand.
Yeah.
And he has a purple cape and like a crossbones on his chest, and he honestly has a helmet that looks like kind of Galactus-esque, but all black.
Yeah.
But he's the one that, if we don't know, and we don't at this point, just killed Viv.
Yeah.
And it's about to get even more intense. So he walks in and he screams imposters. So again, we're kind of mimicking what, if you know about this character, he's always thought that Vision is an imposter of his brother's entire being. And he's screaming frauds, artificial jokes. And Viv gets cut on the arm, and Virginia's freaking out and screaming no. And then
Vin.
Yes, what did I say?
You said Viv. I just wanted to make sure.
Viv, Vin. It's all a tongue twister. So he's screaming imposters, and it looks like he's shooting. And he says, you pretend to be my family. You aren't real. Simon is real. I'm real. So Simon is Wonder Man's name. I remember that. And he says, did you think I wouldn't find you? Everywhere I look, I see you. Everyone is so eager to share their photos of the new perfect family, which you realize is suddenly not a great thing that everybody's taking a picture of them. And then we get another shot of Viv over in the corner just glitching out, mother, Vin struggling to stand up. And then the Grim Reaper says, a family made from a stolen copy of my own brother. When will you learn? The Vision is not Wonder Man. So yeah, that basically sums it up right there. You are not family. You are not real. And he lifts up his scythe, hook hand, and he's about to kill Vin. And then Virginia comes up behind with what looks like a cookie pan or a cookie sheet.
I think it's like the cookie sheet that the neighbors brought.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. And she says no. And this top panel sums it up. They could have stopped here.
Yeah.
His whole family have the power of Vision, more or less. It's probably varying levels. They're probably not as strong as, but they're superhuman. And she hits him in the back of his head, and you hear snap.
Yeah. And
blood explodes everywhere. And she's just screaming. This is almost this unique parallel through her daughter screaming mother. She's almost glitching on no, no, no. And she's hitting him over and over and over. And he probably is super, but he's not like a Captain America that's going to absorb this blow. And Vin is watching, and he's like, mother, stop. He's mother.
Yeah. I'd like to butt in and say, a cookie sheet is not very robust.
No, it's not like this dense iron thing.
Yeah, so
like a cast iron.
To think that there was some rage going on with this, because I'm thinking to be able to, I'm assuming the snap was his skull or his neck or something, but like, wow, that would be like trying to knock down a tree with a piece of paper or something like that.
Right.
I mean, it's like...
Yeah, think about how hard you'd have to hit somebody with a cookie sheet to kill them.
Yeah, so I just want to say that.
Yeah, so she's just not just hit him once, but she's like in this blind rage. Now, understandably, as maybe some mothers would be if somebody just stabbed their children.
Yeah.
And then we get this narration again. It says, the floating water vases of Zinla are always empty. The methanic sulfite that causes the water to levitate is poisonous to all known species of flowers. And we see Virginia saying, no, please, no. And then
Viv is still in the back.
Viv's still glitching out in the back, just mother. And then the last panel of this, we see Virginia saying, don't tell your father. And the last narration says, the mystery is then not why are they empty, but why would anyone ever make such a vase?
Yeah.
End of issue.
Yeah.
I'm not lying when I tell you, listeners, that I just got chills reading it again, just like I did last night. It's such
Came out of nowhere.
good issue 1. Yeah. Thoughts?
I mean, as soon as I was reading it last night, and I was like, well, not stopping there. And I just kept reading because I was just like, I can't physically stop there.
Yeah, it's truly impossible to just stop reading after that one. I did the same thing. I went and read issue 2 again just because I had to relieve the tension, to resolve the 7 chord, if you will.
And it doesn't. I mean, it keeps building, if I remember correctly. So it's I would say it's worth picking up.
Yeah, issue 1. I mean, or again, we told you 5 pages in that it could have stopped and we would have kept reading. Like we would have kept buying.
Yeah.
It's that good. It's very easy to see how this. I mean, if they even stay close to par, Tom King and his team, it's going to be an incredible book. Tori, what did you think of this one?
Well, I had the superhuman resolve to stop after issue 1.
Yeah, I mean, that's truly what you had to have. It makes sense.
It was really good. I enjoyed it a lot. I like the narration as a framing device.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, it's brilliantly told. I forgot how much I liked it. I mean, I liked it enough to keep it in my pull box. And I'm really glad that we're covering it. And I'm glad that we have an opportunity to, because if the series WandaVision is even half as good. Now, there's going to be some different stuff. Like, obviously, to our knowledge, now this may be just a very well-kept Marvel secret. We're not going to have Viv, Virginia, and Vin in this show. Maybe we do. Who knows?
Yeah.
We're dealing with the Scarlet Witch who can warp reality. And reality's been warped in the MCU already, and time travel exists. So, really, the box is open as far as what tricks we can pull out. But even so, I think there's enough source material here to tell a very compelling story. I think it's going to translate really well to the MCU's version of the Vision. Any other thoughts on that one?
No.
I feel like I need to smoke a cigarette after that. I mean, it's like a heavy episode. I'm always going to do that. Episode, issue, they're interchangeable.
It is heavy.
Well, I mean, I feel like we covered it pretty well. This one, we're going to say it I'm just going to say it every episode. You got to read these comics with us. But if there's one that'll make you finally bite the bullet, if this one doesn't do it, I'm not sure a comic will. It's so good. I maybe I scared away some of our readers that don't handle, I won't barely call this gore. It's not like there's bones popping out somewhere. You can handle it. It's brilliant storytelling. It's beautiful art. Like Tori said, the narration floating over the top of everything acts as this really awesome device to kind of weave everything together. I cannot recommend you read this comic book enough.
Yep.
It's so good. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break and we'll jump into the first round of 2-man trivia for the Vision series. We'll be right back.
And we're back with our lightning round, where the questions are faster than that blade came through the wall and Viv.
Yeah.
It was seriously it was startling.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I don't like how you did your homework. Death.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know if she's dead yet.
Yeah.
But still, definitely
I
not.
don't like how 100%. You did your homework.
Impale. Yeah. Not from her mom either.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm still like out of breath from that issue. Yeah. It's that good. I really do like it. Can you guys tell that I like comic books?
Yeah. Why don't you start a club?
I'm thinking about it. Yeah. Cool. So this is a fresh round. While we do have plans to maybe carry on the Doctor Doom books as they come out, we're completely caught up on Marvel Unlimited with what we can read. So new comic book means a new round of trivia.
If you listened or watched the last episode, you know that every single question that was asked was answered correctly.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling it's going to be the complete opposite today.
Yeah, that's not happening today. I have a proposal that we elevate Tory points to the exact same value as our points, so that it's all just a little easier to keep track of.
Okay.
But they will remain the same for the last series,
That's
Doctor
fine.
Doom,
So
as they were.
if we go back to Doom, we have to
remember. how
So
that's
if
going.
that's the case, I mean, Tori, do you want to be a part of just like the guessing of all of it?
I think
I'm
that'd be
not
fun.
sure, but I'm.
It's
not
up to
going
you.
to know anything.
Or do you prefer like just asking questions and
I
finding
think
stuff?
because it's 2-man comic book club, it should just be
Okay.
y'all.
We'll still let you do that.
That's fine.
It'll be a chance for us to like truly compete for a second versus just trying to stump each other.
Okay, yeah,
So add some variety. Do you want to go first?
sure. I'll go first
Cool.
with the obvious question that could be one that you know because you were looking at the same exact page as me. But when did Vision make his debut?
When? Like what comic or what year?
I'll give you, if you know both, I'll give you a point for both.
I have known this at some point. I'm gonna guess based on a hunch of what I think is in my brain somewhere. Avengers number 67. No,
Close.
close. I'm gonna guess it was 65, but or a secondary guess that doesn't count. As far as when, because I thought 67, I'm gonna guess 1967.
That is even closer.
Dang,
It was Avengers number 57
damn.
in 1968.
That's all right. Didn't get it.
That's okay.
Didn't
I mean,
get
I
it.
feel like that's kind of a question that we're probably bound to ask.
It's always good though.
So,
Again,
just to know, like, so Vision has been in existence for half a decade
yeah.
or half a century ish.
Yeah. When we started this podcast, the goal for trivia was always more educational than truly just
Yeah.
like beating each other. And we do have
And
some
I'm-
fun trying to go at
Yeah.
each other too.
And I'm
but
always curious when
yeah,
people started.
Yeah,
or
we want
when-
you guys to
when-
learn with
when
us.
Debuts happened.
cool. So, some cool first. So I'm trying to decide. My question has like several possible angles. Some of them I just tell you to like. You know what? I'm gonna have plenty to ask from this. I'll ask elements of this right now. I mentioned that Vision and Wanda had children. Their names are Wiccan and Speed. That's all I'm going to give you for that part right there.
So do I get the points?
You get the points. Congratulations. Yeah. Wiccan is recently celebrated as one of the first LGBTQ marriages within Marvel Comics. If you've been following some of the Marvel Unlimited stuff, you might have even seen them talk about this. Marvel's
Probably not.
official accounts. Can you tell me who he married?
I mean, there was an idea.
I do have a follow-up question after I tell you who it is if you don't get it.
Oh.
You have heard of the character before,
Okay.
but definitely not like an A-lister.
Okay. I had an idea, and I've already lost it. You're gonna say it and then be like, "Oh yeah, totally." So I have no idea.
It's Hulkling.
I have no idea.
Really?
I'd never even heard of Hulkling.
Really?
Yeah,
It's
really.
very surprising. Well, I'm going to ask you the question about Hulkling that I had as a follow-up, and you can just take a swing at it because you
Okay.
for sure it is technically possible for you to answer this correctly.
Okay.
I'd be very surprised if you got it, especially never having heard of the character.
Didn't know that such a being existed.
What species is Hulkling?
My guess was going to be human.
Nope. But you can actually have a guess.
Okay. Martian?
No. I mean, are you calling Martian like seriously from Mars?
Yes, yes, I
he's
was.
not Martian. No. He is a Kree Skrull hybrid.
Okay.
Yeah. So he
Yeah,
has
just-
shape shifting powers like the Skrulls do. but he's also has super strength like the Kree do.
Okay.
That's his thing. So yeah, hopefully.
So far, my prediction was correct.
Yeah.
0 answers. So let's see if we can round it out.
We'll have to do something here with Tori's question.
Okay, mine's round 3 of Name That Supervillain.
Okay.
And this might be another one I'm going to try to go with as vague as possible.
That's fine.
Then if you guys don't get it, I can give you more clues. But this supervillain has a power known as endless resurrection, where they cannot stop living. Every time they die, they are resurrected.
Dang, it's a
I have
villain.
so many guesses if it was DC.
Mm-hmm. Is this a well-known villain?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't know. It's
all three
it's
possible.
relevant. I'll say it's relevant to this.
Never-ending death. Seems
It's relevant to this.
I'm gonna guess, but it's gonna be wrong. I feel silly for almost guessing. Alex. This is just purely a guess, and it's a stretch. Deadpool.
No, that's a good guess.
But
it's also supervillain. Is he?
Well, he's more anti-hero is why it's a stretch.
I just because my first thought was it could create some interesting stories down the road, but you've read it already, so you would have known. But my guess was just going to be Grim Reaper.
No,
because you said it was irrelevant.
I can give some other clues and just
do one more set of clues, and then if not, we'll
take
the L.
This supervillain's powers. I'll say it's a he. Wears armor, actually an insectoid exoskeleton that grants him resistance to most forms of injury. He has the ability to breathe in the vacuum of space, and has wings that can carry him up to 150 miles an hour.
Sounds pretty wicked.
And if you guys say that you don't know who this person is once I tell you, then I apologize.
I feel like I'll have at least heard of him. He is an exoskeleton.
Insectoid.
Insectoid.
I don't know Marvel. Anybody that's insectoid.
I feel like I'm going to, as soon as he says it, I'm going to be like, derp.
Yeah.
But as of right now, I don't have an awesome guess.
I got no clue.
Yeah, I'm stumped.
Okay, it's Annihilus.
Dang it! That is
Annihilus.
absolutely. We've read about him all the way through Secret Wars.
Okay, that was that guy?
Yeah, Annihilus.
Yellow guy?
Mm-hmm.
With a similar...
Oh, no, that was Ex Nihilo, which sounds very similar to Annihilus. Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I know who Annihilus is. I'm an idiot.
Annihilus has bumped heads with the Vision
Right.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
quite a bit.
Yeah, I think even he is always very insect talking about destroying, and
Okay.
you would, if I showed you some panels, you'd be like, oh yeah, good question.
Well, I didn't mean to be correct with my my prediction, but I was.
Yeah, you were. It's
So-
all right.
It never rains, but it pours.
Yes. Well, with that sad note of trivia, Drew, where can they find us on social media?
Yeah, teach us a thing or two.
Yeah.
On Twitter at 2Man Comic Book with the number 2. 2Man Comic Book Club if you're looking for us on Instagram or Facebook. You can find our blog, 2mancomicbookclub.blogspot.com, and shoot us an email because if you're this far, obviously you're a fan. Please, we want to answer some questions on episode 50 for our mailbag. So shoot us an email or anywhere, or find us on YouTube. I didn't mention that in the last episode. Find us on YouTube. Leave us a comment, whatever. What was I? Oh, yeah, our email address. I distracted my own self. Our email address is 2mancomicbookclub@gmail.com. What about you, Alex?
You can find me on all social media at Alex Wayne Miller. Wayne is Wayne, just like Bruce Wayne, because I am Batman. And that's just the coolest thing you've ever heard.
Yeah, it is.
What about you, Tori?
You can find me on Twitter at Torrance Watkins, TORRANCEWATKINS. Did I spell my own name right? I think so.
Yeah, close enough.
Where you can find me trying out jokes every now and then.
Yeah, they usually fit. I like them.
Very sparingly.
And as I mentioned in the break, if you made it that far, we are doing the 2-man comic book Christmas, where we would love to give away some sweet comic books to our fans who listen. We're also doing a little bit of a comic book exchange here. You heard all the details in the break. Do it. Bring some people on. Again, all the details, if you need, are in that break right there. And we'll probably post something on social media too.
Yep.
Anything else, fellas? Oh, yeah. Leave a comment. Did you already say that about podcast review, ratings, reviews?
No, I did not say
We
that.
always forget to do that one.
Yeah.
If you leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, or if you link us to where you did leave one on another podcast platform, we will read it on the podcast, give you a shout out. Those will really do a lot to help us spread our content, but maybe one of the best things you can do is just share with a friend, which is all about the 2-man comic book Christmas, the gift of comic books.
Are you standing next to somebody right now? If you are, grab their phone.
Yes.
Open up their podcast app of choice.
Preach.
If they don't have one and it's an iPhone, go ahead and pull out Apple Podcasts.
Yep.
That way they can leave an app a review. If they don't, if it's not an iDevice,
Tell them.
get whatever. What you like Overcast?
Overcast, brilliant.
Get Overcast. We sound really good on Overcast.
Oh yeah.
And go ahead and open it, download it, and then whenever you get there, search for 2-Man Comic Book Club, hit subscribe, hit play, and then hand it to them.
Yeah, I will say if you do literally take him seriously and you go and get Overcast, it's slightly weird how you go find new podcasts. You got to hit the plus sign in the top right and then search. If you search right away, it'll just search the stuff you already subscribed to.
Yeah, I personally use Google Podcasts just because it's what I used back when I got my Pixel, and I still use it. It's not necessarily the best, not the worst.
It gets the job done.
It just works for me. Yeah.
Cool. All right, fellas. See y'all next time. Bye.
Goodbye.